the Liberty Podcast with Clint Armitage. We are proclaiming liberty one show at a time, and the next one starts right now. What is up? My name is Clint Armitage. You are listening to the Liberty Podcast, and I appreciate you coming back and checking us out. Now, we've been doing a series called Weakling to Warrior, and we've done, I thought we were only going to do 2, then we jumped to 4. Now we're going to probably end up doing 6 total. We just finished up part 4 last time, and now we're on to part 5. But before we get into part 5, I want to say thank you very much for allowing me to take a week off so that I can have a Thanksgiving week off with the family, and I hope that you had a great Thanksgiving week with your family, and I hope that we were thankful. I hope that you were thankful just like I was thankful for what God has given us, and what God has given us, gave us in the present, and then will give us in the future. And I was even thinking about the stuff that He didn't give us and was thankful for that, because some of the things that we ask for, or some of the things we think we want, and then God doesn't give, we find out later on that He was right, and it would have destroyed us or messed us up a little bit. And so I am thankful for that as well. So again, we're getting back into it just after Thanksgiving here, and we're talking about Gideon. And again, it was Weakling to Warrior. We got to chapter 6 all the way to verse 40, finishing up chapter 6 with Gideon, where he is becoming this warrior that God has already called him to be. Remember, he didn't believe it before, but now he's actually saying, if you call me to this, if your hand is with me, then I can do this. And that's what he's starting to tell God now. He's saying, if you show me a sign, and he asked for 2 signs, and we talked about it last time, that God's not going to be mad at us when we ask for confirmation. Now, Gideon asked for confirmation twice. Now, he thought God was going to be a little upset. That's why he had mentioned in the latter part of chapter 6, where he says, don't be angry with me, but let me do one more time. Let me request one more time for you to tell me if I am supposed to do this. Show me another sign. And then that night God did, and that's where we finished up in verse 40. Now we're moving into chapter 7. This is where we see the rubber meeting the road, and now Gideon is going to be fighting here. But he's going to get, as we read, you're going to find out, not only is he becoming this warrior that God has already called him to be, but he's starting to get confirmations from God. Not only the signs that he asked for, but then he's going to get even more confirmation as we read in the text here. So let's start off with chapter 7. Here we go. Early in the morning, Jerubbaal, that is Gideon, and all his men camped at the spring of Harod. The camp of Midian was north of them in the valley near the hill of Moreh. The Lord said to Gideon, you have too many men for me to deliver Midian into their hands. In order that Israel may not boast against me that her own strength has saved her, announce now to the people, anyone who trembles with fear may turn back and leave Mount Gilead. So 22,000 men left, while 10,000 remained. Okay, we'll stop there. Now, what we're starting to see is God is showing Gideon, hey, I'm gonna get you through this. I'm the reason why you are a warrior. See, now, that's the thing that we have to understand. Yeah, we were weaklings, and then we're becoming warriors, just like Gideon is becoming a warrior. But we have to understand the only reason why we are a warrior is because God is making us into this warrior. He's molding us into the warrior, and then He's also being the warrior for us. He's the one that's going to win this battle. As we'll see in the text later on, we're going to find out that it's God that is the true warrior, and God is in us. He's the warrior in us. So not only is He transforming Gideon to be this warrior that He's called him to be, He's getting Gideon to realize that it's Himself, God Himself, that is the warrior. God is the one who is actually fighting his battles. God brings him to the battle, but then God fights the battle for him. And just like in our life, that's how it works. God will fight our battles. That's why we just have to get on our knees and pray. and God will fight the battles for us, because it is not against flesh and blood, like the Bible says in the New Testament. It's not against flesh and blood. It's against principalities and powers. And so it's a spiritual battle, just like this is a spiritual battle, even though it ends up being physical here as we read. You'll see that it is a physical war, but truly behind the scenes, it's a spiritual battle. And you're going to see, just like Joshua when they conquered Jericho. When they conquered Jericho, was that really truly a physical battle? No, because they had to break through the walls. How could they do that? They couldn't do it physically. There was not a way for them to do that. God provided a way spiritually for the walls to come down. Then they could go in and conquer. So see, it's always a spiritual battle up front. And God is showing this to Gideon right now. You start to realize it because God tells Gideon, you have too many men. If Midian is defeated in this battle that's coming up, men think that it's them that does it. And don't we run into that too? We start to think that it's us when we start to gain some success, whether it's money, whether it's sports, whether it's work, and we start to gain some success. We start to get a little proud, a little arrogant, and we start to believe that it's our own power, it's our own skills that is providing this success, when really God is providing all of it. And so he is trying to show Gideon here, hey, I want to make sure that you guys know that I'm the one fighting this battle for you. So he tells Gideon, hey, you have too many men. So in order to minimize the men, find out who wants to leave, who's trembling in fear, and then let them go back. Well, 22,000 men left. That's 2/3. 10,000 remain. So only 10,000 remain out of the 22,000. Out of the 32,000 that were there, it looks like. Okay, 22,000 left, 10,000 remain. But then the Lord said to Gideon again. See, this just confirms even more that it's the Lord, and no pride, no arrogance. Nothing can ever say that it's Gideon or his men that did this, that beat the Midianites. It's all God. And so God is really showing him here that he's the one in charge. So in verse 4, but the Lord said to Gideon, there are still too many men. Take them down to the water, and I will sift them for you there. If I say, this one shall go with you, he shall go. But if I say, this one shall not go with you, he shall not go. So Gideon took the men down to the water. There the Lord told him, separate those who lap the water with their tongues like a dog from those who kneel down to drink. 300 men lapped with their hands to their mouths, and all the rest got down on their knees to drink. Okay, so this is actually not only the Lord is sifting these men to find out who's going to end up fighting. You're going to see he knocks it down to minimal, okay? But it's actually tactical as well. If you look at the text, this is what it says. Separate those who lap the water with their tongues like a dog from those who kneel down to drink. And he said 300 men lapped with their hands to their mouths. So basically the guys that scooped the water with their hands and then licked it or drank it out of their hands. He said, keep those guys. But the ones that actually get down on their knees to drink, send them away. 300 of them scooped with their hands and was drinking hand to mouth, okay, lapping like a dog, They did not kneel. That's actually tactical, because if you think about it and you're at war, you're on the defense, you don't know if you're going to get attacked. If you're going to drink water, what's a better advantageous position to be in? Standing, taking the water and lapping it with your hands, or putting your hand to mouth, or actually getting on your knees? Well, once you get on your knees, you get to a disadvantaged position. So tactically, you want to choose the guys that are more prepared to defend themselves. Well, in this situation here, if this is a tactical thing that the Lord is doing here, which I think it is, he is actually showing Gideon, hey, these guys are better warriors. Go with them. And so he finds out that there's 300 men that actually scoop the water with their hands and bring it to their mouths. They don't get on their knees. Once you get on your knees, you get to a more disadvantaged position and you cannot react as fast. So in verse 7, the Lord says to Gideon, with the 300 men that lapped, I will save you and give the Midianites into your hands. Let all the other men go, each to his own place. So Gideon sent the rest of the Israelites to their tents, but kept the 300 who took over the provisions and trumpets of the others. So what's happening here, and we're going to probably end right here, but what's happening here is God is not only looking at sifting through, minimizing the men, God is going to use only 300 of Gideon's men. From 32,000 down to 300, he's whittling it down all the way to 300. So Gideon, the Israelites, anyone that looks at this battle and finds out that Israel wins this battle, they cannot say, oh, it was Israel's strength. It was Gideon's strength. It was his men's strength. No, it is all God, because 300 men from 32,000 men. It is obvious it's a spiritual battle, and God is taking over. And he's sifting the men with, I believe, some tactics here. Tactical sense, tactical awareness. Guys that are not putting themselves in disadvantaged positions just to drink water is showing some tactical sense here. And so I think God is picking these guys because they're better warriors. And that's just my opinion. But that's the way it looks from the text. From what it's saying, you have a more advantageous position if you don't get to your knees and you just scoop up the water with your hands and bring your hand to your mouth. Smarter. Okay, safer, more aware tactically. So anyways, that's just my take on that. I don't know if it's true, but it looks like it there, that God was picking some more tactical guys, but he could have used the other guys too. Who knows? So anyways, as we find out, Gideon is starting to understand, not only is God turning him into a warrior, he's starting to show him that he is in charge. He's the one that's winning the battle, that's fighting the battle for them, and he's want to make sure that no one can take credit other than himself. God is the only one that can take credit for this battle because he whittled it down to a point where you go, okay, there is no way that 300 people could win this war. And that's how God works sometimes in our lives. He does things so that there is no other explanation. That's what miracles are. Miracles are things that you cannot explain. It's not humanly possible to make any connection whatsoever for the outcome that happened. But yet it happened. You can't explain it. The reason why you can't explain it because it's God. It's a spiritual thing. That's why God can do miracles and we cannot. So we're starting to find out that God's going to show himself strong when it comes to the Israelites defeating the Midianites. All right, my name is Clint Armitage. We have just finished up part 5 of Weakling to Warrior, and we're starting to see that God's going to show himself now. And not only that, as we read on in the text next time, we're going to find out that he's giving Gideon even more confidence that he's with him. So until next time, stay safe, stay motivated, and keep seeking liberty. Now go out there and win those battles. For another episode of the Liberty Podcast with Clint Armitage. If you want to get in touch, email us at info@clintarmitage.com.